Well, hello and welcome to another movie review from MBE. Today we are talking about something in a moment. When I turn this down, I do not want to hear my own voice. It's sad that you have got to put up with it. I do not have to. But we're going to be doing Die Hard with a Vengeance, John.
Yeah.
So, I am going to hand this over to you now, John. We're continuing our Die Hard theme at the moment. We know that obviously the main man, Chris Stuckman, did this a few weeks ago. I deliberately didn't watch his review on this until we have done ours because I just didn't want to really pick up on anything. He's such an analytical chap. I wanted to discuss it how I viewed it, and I'm sure you'll do the same. So I'm going to hand it over to you now, John. This obviously stars the brilliant Bruce Willis, Jeremy Irons as well, and Samuel L. Jackson in there for the mix as well.
And Stephen, when you have a movie with Samuel, the great Samuel L. Jackson in there, it's always demonstrably better as a viewing experience just by that man's presence, because he brings something to every movie he's in, even if he's a pure ass of a man.
An ass.
An ass. We're going to do the Americanized stuff because arse sounds a little bit Bristol. And we don't want to begin down sort of bummers ready, bummers away sort of side notes. It's early on in the review. Even when he plays a pure arsewipe of a man, I'll just say arse, he's still enjoyable, like he was in obviously Django Unchained.
Yeah.
So it was great to see him in here. This is the first time I've seen the movie. I'm going through a sort of journey of Die Hard for the first time. Watched the first Die Hard movie about 2 months ago. Yeah, second one about 3 weeks ago.
That's right, yeah. I kind of ruined this for you in a way because I never thought I never thought you would actually watch the Die Hard films because I think I've been trying to get you to watch them for 15 years at this point.
It's incredible.
So I told you a kind of spoiler. Obviously, the reveal of the villain, which we'll get into.
It's so obvious, though, isn't it?
Well, we talked about that as well. Obviously, the build up to that
Simon.
German accents, etc. It's a bit.
Stephen, do the line.
Simple Simon said to the pieman.
Simple Simon said to the pieman. Yes.
Jeremy Irons, fantastic actor,
really,
great guy to get in to play the antagonist in this film,
and he does a magnificent Anglified German accent. He really does. He's up there with Rickman.
Yeah.
On that note, we'll get into it later why he's not up there with Rickman on many other notes, but he's still enjoyable. Stephen, an explosive start, says. We get everything in this intro. Great music. I'm not entirely sure what the music was. Now it's been
Somewhere in the City.
Somewhere in the City.
It's been a little while,
That's it, yeah. Morning Rush Hour in New York.
Yoik.
And a massive explosion happens in a department store. It sets the movie off beautifully. First minute, huge explosion. Right away, you're on the back foot, the audience. What is going on here? Something nefarious is going on. And then you have the dulcet tones of one, as we said before, the aforementioned Jeremy Irons laying down the law to the cops, demanding Mclean be brought to him, essentially. And then he obviously tells them, look, he's going to Harlem. He's walking around with a sign on. It just throws him at the wheels, essentially. Stephen, Harlem, a traditionally black community in New York, full of sort of hard black guys who are just getting knives and armed to the teeth, and they're out for blood for a white man in general. But when the white man's going around with a very racist sign, he needed Samuel L. Jackson to save him, Stephen. This is a hard man, Mclean, but he'd met his match with that sort of block of just hoodlums, I'm going to say, because they were ready to cut him up. I loved the scene. I loved the introduction to Mclean. It was nice and organic the way he brought him in. And once again, he's on the wrong side of the police force. He's been put on sort of semi-suspension.
He's separated as well.
He's separated from his wife, so we don't have the wife again. That's good. We're already making a departure from the first two movies. But she played a part, but she was kind of useless. She was a MacGuffin, in a sense, to sort of ignite the fire in Mclean to save the day. In this, she's not here, so he has just a different role in this movie. The whole movie's structured differently. But, Stephen, it's also a great way to introduce Samuel L. Jackson's Zeus character too.
Yeah.
And just, I says it to you before we even come on here. It's 5 minutes, man. It's not even that. It's a 2-minute scene with him and the two young guys coming into the store with the sort of the Walkman. Immediately, I've got everything I need to know about this character. You just get a sense of him in the first moment you lay eyes on him, and that is great sort of script writing, screenplay, whatever you want to call it, to sort of delve into a character so quickly and give so much with so little. I really enjoyed this intro. It's probably up there with one of my favourites out of the three so far that I've seen. I think it's better than the first one, or the second one, sorry, where we have William Sadler just ball naked in his hotel room. First one I think is probably still better because you see Mclean for the first time.
This is for a lot of die-hard fans, this is their favourite out with the original film, and I can see why.
Yeah.
Obviously, having John McTiernan back as well was very important. I don't think, I can't remember the director's name in the second one again, but I don't think he did a bad job or anything like that, but it was there was so many similarities to that second film to the original that it annoyed people. It annoyed Bruce Willis to a point that he doesn't really want to talk about the film that much, but I thought it was okay. This one, as you said, was a great departure from that formula.
Yeah.
John McTiernan understood that. That first film was based on a book, as we've talked about if you watch our review on that. But this was this was a great story. It was more of a cat and mouse sort of game, set in New York as well. I think we were in Washington the last time, weren't we? Washington Airport.
We were in Washington, yes, prior to that, LA, of course.
LA, so, and it was just great to see, our main characters just running about New York, try to solve puzzles, etc. It was the humour was there again, which is great because when you get someone like Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson, they didn't share any scenes in Pulp Fiction, didn't they not?
No.
There's a little reference, Captain Kangaroo. That was a Pulp Fiction reference. I don't know if you picked up on that, John.
I didn't.
The introduction, obviously, to Zeus was very important. You said this just before we came on.
Yeah.
The sort of transition of this character from the beginning. An ignorant man, I would put him down as. I wouldn't say he was... It
was a great sort of switcheroo of also the white man being ignorant of sort of black people and just being racist innately.
I think it's more of...
It's not really racist.
He's tarring everyone with the same...
He's been beaten down.
With the same brush. Yeah, he's been beaten down, John. That's a great scene, there's a white guy outside. Yeah, there's nothing unusual about that.
I've seen them.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, these little lines are absolutely gold. And then we obviously get Mclean out with that board
signage on,
yeah. So
and a great
it's quite a tense scene actually.
It is tense when the knife goes into the board. I thought, Jesus Christ, that's a thick piece of wood. Yeah. This guy could have been sort of stabbed in the heart there. And again, man, it's just Stephen. It's just an early sort of enabler for these two characters to bring them together, in a sense. And create this mismatched buddy movie that we have from there on in.
Yeah.
And you're right, man. McTiernan, he just right away differentiates this from the previous two movies. It had to happen.
Yeah.
We can't have this being bogged down within the one setting again. It's claustrophobic.
Bonnie Bedelia,
yeah.
Another situation.
You have to have it open up, be more expansive, just differentiate it, have a different movie, a different structure. I love mismatched buddy movies, man. I love The Nice Guy from a few years back. Even Starsky and Hutch, the TV show. I've seen bits and bobs of that. I'm trying really hard to think of other mismatched buddy movies, but in general, I really
Tango and Cash.
Really enjoy them because
Hobbs
you
have
two very different characters. Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw coming together, and sometimes they don't even like each other, and they almost go on a journey together, and then they almost get a begrudging sort of admiration for each other as the movie goes through. It's a nice way to structure a movie like this because you have the villain playing puppet master like Jeremy Irons, speaking too quickly.
Yeah.
Don't do it. And then you have these two guys slowly building a sort of chemistry, and then that allows them to save the day at the end. I really enjoyed the intro.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Mclean getting sent in the middle of Harlem with a honking hangover, I says.
Yeah.
And again, man, look, we've delved into this second point sort of in a more organic manner. Just how it reveals the character's whole sort of background and everything in 5 minutes. His raison d'etre, if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Simon Says game, Stephen, big part of the first 35 minutes or so, 40 minutes of the movie. Simon Peter Gruber. The worst German name ever. That is not a German name, come on. Peter?
Hans
Gruber is a German
Peter's
name.
not.
Simon Peter?
No.
Terrible, man. It's like, we need to do this Simon Says thing. Let's fit Simon in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Simon's fine.
Yeah.
Peter? No. Ain't a German name, man. Come on. I'm not having it. But what I liked the game, I liked Mclean and Zeus running around like blue arse flies, I've says here. Through Central Park, what a great sequence when he's driving the car. Although it just reeks of Back to the Future 2 with the doc. And it's just not him, man. It's clearly a fat, red-faced guy. It's a clearly a stunt
I was wondering where you were going with that,
Yeah,
John.
man, it's not Bruce Willis that's driving that. I mean, clearly not, but it's so obvious. They didn't even try.
It's a skilled driver, yeah.
It's going to be like the Batman, Stephen. you're going to have Robert Pattinson in shots, and then this guy that was in Glasgow on the bike looks nothing like him, looks more like Ben Affleck.
Yeah, the jaw.
It's so jarring. But I really enjoyed that scene. It was really, Stephen, a really quick-paced movie in the main. It's so frenetic. He's got them running all over the place, doing his bidding, trying to get to phones, trying to work out little riddles and puzzles and whatnot in case a bomb goes off. Fantastic concept, and it really keeps the intensity up. So much so, I was watching this at 1:30 in the morning. This morning, 1:30 in the early hours of the morning. I was only going to watch half of the movie. I was that engrossed in it, I actually just watched it all the way through and stayed up to the back of 3. So that tells you how engrossed I was in the first 35-40 minutes of this movie. What did you make of the Simon Says thing, Stephen? What did you make of the rush to phone calls and at Central Park? And we'll get into the underground bomb scene after that.
I've seen this film probably about 15-20 times now, John, since its release. I saw it when it came out. I think it was round about late August over here in the UK in 1995. I was 19 at the time, and I loved the Die Hard films anyway.
Yeah.
The whole Simon Says thing was a bit obvious to me that this was a distraction for the bigger picture of what he was really up to. And even the sort of grudge match he has with Mclean over the whole brother thing, murdering his brother, wasn't even, his primary sort of reason for what he was doing, which you were supposed to assume. There was obviously something else going on. That's where...
Does that not sum up the Gruber family, Stephen?
That's what I was going to say, John. That's what I like about the writing in this film, because it does tie into the first film without having all these sort of winks at the camera like the second one did. There's not too many... I don't even know if they mentioned Nakatomi in this one. I think they just said that building in LA, that thing in LA or something like that, wasn't it?
Mclean did. He mentioned
did
it when he was speaking to Zeus. Yeah. What was this stuff about LA? And he says Nakatomi building or something like that, briefly.
But there wasn't too many sort of winks at the camera, and that's what I liked about it. It was so subtle, the way the Grubers worked. They were just greedy little bees, and it was all about money for them.
And that end scene perfectly exemplifies that, Steve, when he's speaking to the world and speaking about the goals.
It was fun, John. It kept the sort of the pace in the film going, as you said, frenetic. Also, the things they were doing were very silly, working out maths problems and stuff like that.
Very complex maths problems.
I know. I did try to work it out as well, but I'm not that. I don't go there with maths, but I liked it. It also added. It gave ammunition for Mclean and Zeus as well to have banter between them, which was important in this film. Die Hard films, as well as we like to think of them as action films, which they are. They're very good made action films. They've also got that degree of comedy in them, not silly comedy that takes you out of the situation, but it's those little one-liners. And
no, it's these silly sort of issues and incidents that Mclean gets himself into, and the way that he escapes, that takes you out of the movie at times. And
we'll talk about that. Yeah,
we'll get into that shortly, because the second one had it. First one, perhaps the swinging off the building, but I mean that's at least semi-realistic, believable. Second one, also the cockpit when he gets flung out with the ejector seat, ridiculous. This one has its very own moment, if not two, and it's right up there, I have to say. There's quite a few moments actually. We'll get into them though as we move on, Stephen. Look, man, it also leads to Mclean getting on the underground train. Zeus is off running about trying to get to the phone in time. We've got that idiot security guard at the underground station, just to build the tension, telling him to keep his hands up. He's like, I have to answer this call. And then he's shaking like a leaf. He's an absolute joke. He answers the call anyway. It's too late. Mclean ain't there. I really enjoyed the build up to this scene, Steve, the underground bomb scene. Him on the train, the way that he uses his noggin. He's not the smartest guy at working out mathematical riddles, but when he can spot a bomb a mile away. Very instinctive guy, absolutely. And just will he get the bomb off the train in time? Well, it does in a way, but then you get a truly amazing action set piece.
John, it was fantastic.
I want to know how much money they spent recreating this, because the scene of that carriage popping round off the rail, derailing and crashing through the underground stop.
Yeah, it was going through
absolutely
the pillars as well.
Yeah, really.
I remember watching that for the first time. I thought the road above them is going to cave in on them, because every pillar is getting knocked away here.
So Silver Streak at the end.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of that. That was a very impressive action set piece as well. But Stephen, it just showed you right from the get-go. We had it with William Sadler, obviously detonating the plane. Not detonate the plane, screwing with the altitude to crash the plane. He wasn't messing around. Jeremy Irons is Simon character, not messing around in this movie. No. He gave them an ultimatum.
Yep.
You get to this phone, the
Play
two of
game
yous.
Yeah.
You play the game. Any mucking around, I'm not pissing about. I will blow up. I'll detonate the bomb.
Yep.
And he does it. And that adds some edge to that character, that he's not messing around. He's not a man to be trifled with. We've not even touched upon the "you can't catch me if you tried" scene back in the police station. That was amazing, man.
Yeah.
Just Bruce Willis's Mclean character
McLean gets under your
absolutely
skin,
destroyed him, man.
He got under his skin that time. Yeah.
He's like playing. No, I'm not decrying people with speech impediments and stutters and whatnot. It must be horrendous. But that was hilarious, man, the way that he took him down. It was almost like
riling him, and
yeah.
I think he hung up, didn't he? Because, what have you done?
Well, that and Samuel saying, you can shove your well-laid plan up your well-laid ass. That was another moment where he obviously hang up.
You better hope that he phones back. and Zeus just like, I don't care.
And Mclean sniggering and looking at him. That's when I knew these two guys are going to get on. They're from completely different walks of life. They've got a sort of big hatred there, but they've got a begrudging respect, and they are going to get on as this movie moves forward. And it does. They do get on, and there's some amazing little knowing glances at Samuel in this movie, little quick camera shots, close-ups, where he looks at Mclean and he'll make a little expression. It just adds so much to the dynamic of the relationship. You get it later on as well when he asks him, does this car have airbags? There's one on your side, but I don't know about mine. And then he looks at the camera and shouts Mclean as he jumps. They make the jump off the bridge. Just amazing little camera work things get on there that just adds to that dynamic duo, if you'd like. Stephen Simon Peter Gruber.
Yeah.
I've said question marks, not a German name, already touched on that. But man, I loved that insert when they reveal that it's Hans Gruber's brother.
I've only one gripe with that, John.
The
actual picture quality's deteriorated. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't.
It looks quite fuzzy compared to
a little bit,
6 years on. Or,
it's
7 years on it was at this point, wasn't it? But it's a good insert. But it's
so
like,
iconic as well, isn't it?
It's like we know who Hans Gruber is. It's such an iconic scene. Anyone that's a fan of the Die Hard series will know who exactly Hans Gruber is.
I felt that was like subconsciously coming back to Mclean. He's like, shit, I forgot about this guy. I thought I was done with that family.
Yeah.
And he sees that final moment in his sort of mind's eye. And it brings it back. He's like, oh no, I'm in deep shit now. They're coming for me again, the Grubers. They nearly got me the last time. Maybe they'll get me this time. I loved that, man. I loved that little reveal. We spoke about it though, Stephen. No real need for the whole FBI and sort of involvement. They're saying, who is this guy? Do you know anything about him? He's got a German accent. They clearly know who he is. So what was the point?
They tell him,
And then obviously Simon phones up and says, he knows exactly what they're doing. He knows where they are. He knows who's in the car.
Still get the glasses in your mouth. Still chewing on the
It's completely pointless. I just didn't understand that, other than just to reveal that it's Gruber.
Yeah,
it's his brother essentially. It's a little bit convoluted.
You could see it coming a mile away.
And Stephen, at this point, obviously, he reveals that look, there's a bomb in a school somewhere. They're having to rush off to try and find out which school it is. The police are just going off their nuts. They're sending convoys and police cars all over the city. There's none within a sort of 8-block radius of the Federal Reserve Bank and the police station itself. He says, look, don't give wind to the press or something like that. And then it flies up to the building. Beautiful little sort of aerial shot going up. I thought it was that Dick character again, the reporter. But he's so appropriately named. It seems to be something with people who have the surname Dick. It just fits them appropriately. There's someone else I know in a situation, and it just fits.
They could easily have done that, John. But you've got to give credit to John McTiernan not to go there again. You know, he could have brought Al back as well if he really wanted to for a phone call, talking about fax machines, etc., and beepers. You know, really just to keep with the tech all the time. Yeah, exactly.
You fat shit.
Yeah, but he stayed clear of that. Obviously, that was deliberate on his part. You know, he moved away from it. This was 7 years after the Nakatomi stuff, so you can excuse that. But
47 minutes, though, Stephen.
Yeah, that's mental, John. It's really mental when you think he is the antagonist of the movie. We only had him as a voice up to that point over the telephone.
And how menacing he was.
But this was the turn in the film as well. This is when you start to realise, you don't realise the whole grudge thing with Mclean. He's not really that bothered. No. I don't think he liked his brother much anyway. But you don't know that reveal yet. But when you're seeing the whole Federal Reserve Bank scenes coming in, you're like, this looks like all this Simon Says stuff is a distraction.
Yeah.
that's when you start to piece it together in your head. You know, I'm not saying the film's predictable or anything like that. It's not. The first time you watch this, it's an enjoyable ride, you know, and you just kind of go along with it. It's only when you look back and you go, that was actually quite obvious when I think about it now. As I said, I've seen this film about 20 times now, so
that's incredible.
I love it. I love
it's really good.
the characters
I
in this
enjoy
film.
it.
I love Samuel Jackson in this film. I watch it for him alone. You know, I love John Mclean as a character. I could watch Die Hard films all the time until I saw the fifth one. We'll have to review that as well, because we've reviewed 3 of them now and we've loved all 3 of them, so I think we're going to take a turn for the worst when we get to that last one. But I thought it was an interesting,
and we're getting back to a TV show potentially, so
I thought this was a pivotal point and
it was.
a moment in the film that changed everything for the viewer. Well, me anyway, I can't speak for everyone, but that's when I started to think, he's just like his brother. I know where they're going with this now, but it was enjoyable.
Stephen, you're absolutely bang on. I had the exact same vibes watching it. As soon as he starts unleashing this plan, it's clearly been meticulously planned.
Yeah.
All of these dump trucks coming in, I think there was 12 or something.
That's right, yeah.
Getting down into the underground, just right next to the Federal Reserve Bank. They're drilling holes in the wall. There's sort of trucks, not trucks, but like, I can't recall what it is that comes in. Something comes in to take the metal bars out. Jesus Christ, it is like Fort Knox, I think his right-hand man says. And he replies something like, there's only 10% of the gold in Fort Knox that's here. Fort Knox is a joke, essentially, compared to this. You're right, man. It was like Gruber all over it, Hans Gruber all over again. The way the operation was in full flow. Everyone had a job. They were all carrying it out to absolute perfection. The switchovers of uniforms and whatnot, slick as hell. Took me back to the first movie when Hans Gruber and all of his guys stormed the Nakatomi building in that sort of ambulance, I believe it was, and it just unleashed a beautiful, meticulous planned sort of operation, cutting the power off to all of the computers and whatnot. And you're right, in a sort of mental, emotional state for the villain, you get an insight into what his real motivations are in this movie. He isn't about just out and out anarchy and blowing up people. He actually says it at some point, I'm not a monster or something like that. I'm obviously here to get the gold. I don't care about blowing children and stuff like that up. That's not what I'm all about.
Yeah.
He didn't put a bomb in a school after all. That's a slight spoiler. We're not there yet, but it doesn't matter.
It's fruit juice.
You're right, Stephen. It's like a chip off the old block, essentially, without going off and on and on and on about it again and again and again. He's not really motivated about revenge. He's not motivated about anarchy. It's just about getting his hands on the gold and getting to hell and maybe starting some... I don't know, he said something about a new country or something. Obviously they're from East Germany.
Yeah.
And this was in the midst of the Cold War and they were behind the Iron Curtain to an extent. No, well, yeah, East Germany were. West Germany was they were the better ones. Certainly at football anyway. But look, man, really loved it. It seems to me that every Die Hard movie has a scene like this where it's just the operation being carried out, slick as hell. Gruber, Nakatomi, William Sadler's, what was it? Yeah, song.
Colonel? No, it wasn't Colonel.
It was Colonel.
Was it Colonel? Colonel Sanders, I was about to say.
Well, him storming the airport and taking over the sort of reserve air traffic control centre. They had that, and it was this moment with the Federal Reserve Bank. And you're right, Stephen, in the first Die Hard movie, the villain was in his operation was sort of framed by the and in this it was or it's a Gruber thing.
Yeah.
They just get their own sort of personal theme tune to their nefarious stuff. Loved it, man. That was 40-50 minutes into the movie. We had a whole other hour to go. Absolutely flew by. That's something I really enjoy about these movies in general. Doesn't seem to be a missed beat. There's not one scene I'd change. There's not one second I'd take out. They flow really well. The action flows really well. Tonally, it's perfect. So one of the old school action movies. You don't get action movies like this anymore. It says it after Die Hard 2, the review that we did. They're either too serious, up their own arses, or they are just complete joke movies that are not to be taken serious. Popcorn flicks like maybe a Dwayne Johnson Skyscraper or San Andreas. You don't get that sort of in-between movie like this where there's jokes, like you said, but it's not too far up its own arse, but it is slightly more serious than...
but I think, John, as well, I think these films were... they were made for their time, you know, and you've got to understand that action films... We already had big action films in the 1970s, 1980s. We're now into the 1990s. I think it's just a process of time, really, that things change, you know, and I think that time will come around when we do have another bunch of action heroes. We just don't have a lot of them just now. I think as well that society has changed. Men have changed. The actors have changed as well. I think
men have literally changed.
I think
not
so, John.
as much testosterone.
I don't think the likes of
literally.
You when we do Die Hard 4.0, you understand how much of a dinosaur John McClane is. But I don't want to go there, John, because we will obviously review that at some point.
Yeah.
But it's just, it kind of sums up and it epitomises the sort of position of these action heroes of their day. You know, the Jean-Claude Van Dammes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallones, Chuck Norris, etc. You know, the list goes on, but they don't really fit into the world today, unfortunately. No. You know, that's why
it's like Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry.
Yeah, exactly.
A man out of time.
It just wouldn't fit, unfortunately, as much.
Gene Hunt.
Clint Eastwood's last great performance for me was the Gran Torino film.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of controversy over, obviously, a lot of the dialogue in that film. That was probably one of the last sort of great ones, I would say, for that
Stephen,
time.
We've all had grandparents
who
have came from that era, who say things that make you cringe, make your skin crawl. Yeah. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. They came from that time where that was more. Sadly, it was more acceptable. And I'm like, I mean, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
You can't go too harsh on them because they're old.
But, that's what we're getting at, John. You know, films are like that as well. Films, some age well, some don't age great at all.
No.
I think this film's actually, it's not offensive.
Apart from the beeper.
Yeah, technology and haircuts. Well, we can't really say that about Bruce Willis because his
hair's receding.
Yeah, by 4.0.
I know the feeling, Bruce. Believe me, I know the feeling, mate.
It's totally gone by that point, but I mean,
that's where I'll be in about 5 years.
Yeah, it's the characters in this film as well, John. That's what makes this work. You know, John McClane's he's just a great guy to watch in an action film. You know, you get a good antagonist like Simon. Samuel Jackson, who I believe Bruce Willis put him forward for the role because they must have made some kind of connection years past. Maybe it was Pulp Fiction, I don't know, on set, where Bruce Willis discovered that Samuel Jackson had seen the original Die Hard film over 30 times. So this would have been a dream for Samuel Jackson to take part in as well. Secondary characters as well, that was a strange thing. There seems to be a big dip in quality, and I don't mean that in a bad way or anything like that, John. I'm not saying there was terrible acting or anything. It was some overacting from the sort of captain, Walter, I think it was, wasn't it? His name was
Walter Cobb, Larry Brigman.
He just seemed to be a bit out of touch at times. Oh my God, John! You know, and you're the captain, you're the leader, you're supposed to be leading this operation, and you seem to be
Steve?
Out the loop.
Shit, Gary Oldman.
Yeah, and we had a little song for it as well.
It's just a shit, Gary Oldman. Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Right, Stephen, look, you're right, man.
There is a tangent, but the
dramatic dip in side characters.
Yeah.
Even the Sam Phillips character, Katia, she's sort of strange, nefarious little character.
Who's this?
This assassin, the sort of the right hand woman to the
she's
Simon
vicious.
character. Vicious, but
she doesn't have a lot to say though.
Nothing to say essentially. So real dip.
I can't remember a line. Colin Camp's in there though. She's a good comedic actress, or actor as they like to be called now, but she was good in this as well. She held her own and amongst all the males. I think she was the only female cop and amongst them all.
Well, there was the switchboard actor, Officer Jane, Sharon Washington. She was quite funny as well. She get left at the station to deal with the influx of panic calls when it get out that there was bombs.
Her own,
she was okay, man.
I remember her now.
Graham Greene, Joe Lambert character, he was not too bad.
He was a cool guy.
Yeah, he was okay.
Who was the one? It was Ricky, wasn't it? He was the sort of fall guy, wasn't he? It was his badge.
He get done in there.
It was a shame. He seemed to be an interesting guy. Dr. Schiller as well, played by Stephen Perlman. He was the one who was, I think he was like a shrink, and he was trying to get, very much like Dr. Silverman from the Terminator franchise, try to get in the head of John McClane, try to understand why is this guy after you, what is it he's obsessed with you about. That was other things that were building up to the whole reveal of obviously Simon Gruber, John, which was very, very obvious to me, but I thought the characters overall were very good.
They were, Steve. What did you make of the mismatched buddy duo of Willis and Samuel L. Jackson as well? I just think they had that relationship and the development of that relationship, as I said earlier, nearly lost the mic there, had a real impact on this movie. They added humour. There was real memorable dialogue between the two. Really shined that relationship. But who for you shined the most out of those two? I'm going to put you in a position.
That's fine.
We'll get into more
I think,
speeches, or not speeches, discussion on performances.
I would say Samuel Jackson. Yeah, I think Zeus, the character Zeus, was more interesting for me because of his development from the start to the finish was more interesting. John Mcclane's John Mclean. He's always the kind of same kind of guy. You'll find him the same way every time. Crabby, hungover, beaten down, struggling, always gets there in the end. That's just John Mclean. Zeus, on the other hand, was a very ignorant man at the very start. He had his own views on white people, just generalising, but it wasn't really anything controversial or anything like that or offensive. And I think if the roles had been switched, I would say the same thing. There was nothing really racist about it, although John Mclean does say you're a racist. I don't think he is, John. I think he's just been beaten down by
Stephen, again, it's just prejudicial sort of views that reek of modern day world. Even now, just going back hundreds of years, people are scared of what they don't really know, and if you've not been around someone who's got perhaps a different skin colour, different ethnicity, different religious belief, you're inclined to perhaps be a little bit fearful. Once you actually are in company with people who are different to you, you realise you've got a lot more in common than you think.
That's it,
and that, I think, is what really typifies this relationship.
So what's your name, boy?
Yeah. Two people from very different sides of life, very different backgrounds.
Call me boy.
So he says that's just my little attempt at American humour or something like that. But when they brought them together, they seen that they had more in common. They actually had a kindling friendship there, despite the sort of initial views on each other, maybe on life in general. And they came together and they became a really good dynamic duo. I loved the mismatched body thing. I says it earlier on in this little review. I thought it was really good. It was what typified this movie and made it different to the other two that I've seen prior to this.
Yeah.
Because it was more Mclean centric. He was the lone wolf character.
Yeah.
This one, it was more of a duo, and they had different sort of skill sets. He was brute force, as you says. Crabbit goes in, hungover, gets the job done in the end. He gets the job done. Sam Tyler's jacket came into my head there.
Stylish.
Stylish. He's cool. He gets the job done. And then obviously Samuel's Zeus character is more cerebral. He's a more educated man. He's an engineer. And he's sort of like, he's not wiring the car because he says there's not enough time.
Well. Do you know how to hot wire this? Is that another racist? I can't remember what it was.
Of course I can. I'm
an
engineer.
Locksmith, you know?
Yeah, I'm an engineer, but the trouble is it takes too much time, and he says something else I can't really repeat. But yeah, I mean, I loved that relationship. That was the best thing in the movie for me. That and Irons. But we'll get on to Irons. I mean, he's probably third in the villains for me, but we'll get into that as well, perhaps. Maybe we get into it just now, Stephen.
Yeah, why not?
What did you make about Jeremy Irons as a villain?
You sprung that one on me.
Fling you that under the bus. How do you rank him as a villain, Stephen, overall in this
firstly, I'm going
franchise?
To Jeremy Irons as an actor. I think he's an amazing actor, and he's still an amazing actor. He's so consistent every film he's in. It's hard. It's hard for him to come in and play the relation of an already iconic villain. And try and do something different. I would say he is different in the sense that he's more of a physical presence more than Hans Gruber was. Hans was more.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I know. I'll give that to Jeremy Irons. His American accent was a lot better than Alan Rickman's. But
you're one of them.
In regards to, oh my God! Yeah, that's a terrible scene. But,
I love Alan Rickman.
I would say
God, love him.
Jeremy Irons had quite a burden on his shoulders with what he had to do. And try and take it somewhere different, but he really couldn't. We talked about the Gruber family and obviously what their main intent is. They just want to get their hands on the loot, and he's no different in that sense. Jeremy Irons, I think he's got the same kind of humour as Alan Rickman as well. He's got some funny little one-liners in, holding the apple and shooting. Obviously, Zeus in the leg was. I actually laughed. I laughed at that scene. I thought it was quite. He was so casual about it. He's got the confidence of his brother. I would say that. But Jeremy Irons, for someone who didn't appear in the film for the first 47 minutes, his entrance wasn't as good I felt it's because I think we already had heard them quite a few times over the telephone. But
when he puts on that American accent, Stephen, and he's so brazen, he walks right up to the police in a suit. But he's got boots on, military boots on with the suit, which I'm like, it goes back to Shawshank. How many times do you look at a man's shoes? I look at shoes all the time. It's the first place I look.
I never understood that line from Shawshank. The other thing as well, he was quite partial to a vest, very much like John Mclean. You know, I don't know if that was deliberate on the director's part.
How many layers did this man have on?
I know.
A suit, down to a vest.
Mclean at one point, I think he had like a shirt. He had a jumper, a shirt, a vest. You know, just... Must be just New York climate. I don't know. You've got to wear layers.
It's very cold in the winter. New York, very, very cold and very warm in the summer.
Hot in the city.
Yes, hot in the city. That's why he's got a vest on. Stephen, Jeremy Irons for me, as I say, is third best villain I've seen. I'm partial to William Sadler. Just love the guy. I think he's a great actor. Thought he was really good as a colonel. He was ahead of the game, as all of the villains are usually in these movies. But something about him was just better. He was always a step ahead. Until you get
John,
caught.
that's actually interesting. I've never really noticed that. They are all a step ahead, maybe a few steps ahead. You'll find that with Timothy Oliphant as well in 4.0 when we do eventually do that as well. Very smart man, just like his predecessors.
But I guess it's just the nuances in the performance. I preferred William Sadler. Alan Rickman, I mean, Hans Gruber's the man.
Yeah.
One of the all-time great cinematic villains. So you're never beating him. So he's a third to me, but that's not to say he's shit by any means. He's very good. Jeremy Irons is a very good actor. He's got a very cool, memorable voice. John Hurt-esque, Rickman-esque. Yeah. Very memorable voice. He carries the first hour of the movie with just the sort of Simon Says games and just audio-only performance in a sense. When he does come on the screen, he's okay, but he's by no means the best I've seen in this franchise as of yet. But look, that's not doing him down, as I did say. But look, Stephen, look, we've went way off in tangents here, speaking about different things, man. We'll get back to the movie itself. Penny drops. They return to the Federal Bank, obviously, and this is when we see some really good American accents. Some of the did they even try to do American accents in the first Die Hard? Gruber's men.
Part for Gruber, no.
I don't think they did, no. Well, they attempt it in this, and they're very good.
John, they just reeked German.
They did, didn't they? The one that get killed first in the elevator.
Blonde hair.
Yeah, with the sort of joggers on and the white t-shirt. Yeah. He was just reeked of German. If you had to put him in a lineup and say, pick a German, even if you put Germans in there, and I think he's Swedish, Stephen, or Russian, I'd still say he's German.
He was actually a Russian ballet dancer, John.
I'd still say you're German.
Yeah.
I pick you.
We're not being prejudiced here. We reek of Scottishness.
Stephen, I love the Germans, man. You know my thoughts on Germany, man. I love Germany, man. I love the country. I love the food. I love the culture. I love it. I wish I was born German. So I am not doing down on the Germans, man. Yes, exactly.
I think I like them too.
Yes, I need to get my new Germany talk, incidentally. Well, we're on Adidas, I should say.
Yeah.
German. We love Germany on this channel. But yeah, Stephen, I digress. I went off on a tangent again. American accents, really good ones.
Name tag on that? No, it's not. Anyway.
We'll not get down that. But Stephen, I say Simon's definitely better than his brother at American accents, no doubt about it. The elevator scene in the Federal Reserve Bank. John Mclean heavily inspired the Winter Soldier. Anyone tries to argue this out with me, they're wrong. Him standing in the middle of that elevator with all the sort of with all those guys surrounding him. No Frank Grillo, but heavily inspired it, man. Just this guy outnumbered, and he just kills them all with obviously a gun. Yeah. He's not got a shield, and he's not Captain America, but it inspired it. What was your thoughts on that? The American accents, them going back, the penny dropping, and this really setting up the beginning of the end for this movie.
The badge, wasn't it, that sort of gave it the game away?
The lottery numbers?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That gave it away. It had to come, didn't it? There had to be that confrontation at some point. I mean, it was good. I thought the whole tunnel thing was excellent as well. There was a bit far-fetched at times with
Jesus Christ,
the whole water thing, but
that's what I was talking about. That was this movie's cockpit scene with the ejector seat.
Yeah,
he jumped. He's dangling on the top of a truck with oncoming Russian water. He grabs onto a grate, pulls himself out, and then gets shot out of the grate.
And just at that time, Samuel Jackson's character's just driving past
McGuffin.
That precise moment. Yeah,
just a MacGuffin to get him back hot on the trail of Simon Gruber,
and just lost his gold bullion as well, which was very funny.
Yeah. But obviously they have another car that takes us into the end of this movie, Stephen. It's a really far-fetched ending. I have to say.
Just the jumping off the bridge thing.
Jumping off the bridge, there's just so much going on. It's just ridiculous. But we've got an almost Dark Knight set up where it's they're on the boat. He's inviting people to come and watch it. It's all a show. And obviously there's no sort of morality questions happening where someone has to save the other person, although Zeus does ponder that. He's like, just run away and leave me.
The ship's a decoy as well.
Ship's a decoy, yeah. It's just for them to get away with the gold.
Yeah.
He's saying, look, we have all of the world's gold. I'm going to solve the problem here of these sort of greedy western states.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow it up. Come and watch it from the shore if you've got time. A load of shit. Just classic Gruber. Family, there's something about them. They're just greasy, slimy, and they're just obsessed with money and getting their hands on gold. I liked it though, man. I didn't like the ending. I liked the finale as a whole. I liked the right-hand man sort of saying, don't toy with him, just kill him.
Yeah.
And they just never listen.
No.
They just want to toy with Mclean. And he's not a man to be toyed with, even though he is a little bit instinctive, as you did say. He's not the greatest cerebral mind. He always finds a way to catch these guys in the end. And it's a little moment after he's saved from the boat. I think he's on the phone, the public telephone, and he spots a little thing that's been left. Stephen, even the cents, the 10 cents, just the sort of, they're using the toll bridge.
Yeah, that's right, that was good, yeah.
Yeah, I'm being harsh on him.
I think it was aspirin, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was the address of the pharmaceutical company or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
So that was great, the way that he sort of caught them in the end. And then they're all celebrating, yes, we've won. He's doing a rousing speech. He goes off to have a quickie with Katia or whatever her name is, and they get interrupted in that. But Stephen, it was a really cool finale, man. It really was. There's helicopters getting shot down. They're jumping onto ships. Even the explosive concept with the two different sort of explosive materials coming together. It was almost like The Rock.
Did they say the line though? I can't remember. Did they say?
Yippee-ki-yay. Yeah, he did. Yeah, after the helicopter blows up.
Yeah.
Go and
I couldn't remember.
What is it? He says, go and join your brother, and then
That's
he says,
right,
yippee-ki-yay. I can't say it. I just cannot say it. I'm not Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Sadly.
And then he phones his wife. I don't think that's Bonnie Bedelia on the phone.
No.
John.
Sounded more like that Chandler Bing's haunting character, his nemesis in Friends. Chandler Bing. Sounded like her mixed with My Cousin Vinny, Aunt May.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. It wasn't Bonnie Bedelia, Stephen. But look, man, what did you make of the whole sort of multi-threaded finale? We've got Gruber getting away. He gets caught. We've got the bomb on the ship. Them rushing to get out. He uses a sort of I don't know what he does again. He breaks the handcuffs with a similar sort of thing to the copper, the bomb's disposal guy at the start of the movie.
Oh yeah, the mixture.
Yeah, the mixture. He uses that to free him. And then obviously the school as well. They get out of the school building in time and whatnot. What did you make of it? I like multi sort of perspective endings. We've seen it in The Winter Soldier and whatnot. Other great
sort
movies.
Of three-way story going on, haven't you?
Keeps the tension high.
I don't know if it is three here. It's certainly two, but
three.
Especially when the kids are still locked in the school as well and got to try and get back in. It turns out it was just, I think, instead of obviously the mixture of the chemicals, it was fruit juice.
Yeah, because it spots out on him. Yeah,
it was tense though. It was really tense, and you're thinking this. I can't remember the chap's name, but the bomb disposal guy. I can't remember what his name is. Charlie. It was
Charlie.
You think this is the end for him, but it kind of shows.
And I wouldn't have cared.
No,
Charlie Weiss. Kevin Chamberlain.
Yeah, he's in he's in that thing that my daughter watches, Jessie. He's the sort of butler in it now. That's what I know him from now anyway. But he's quite a comical guy in this. I think he's very cool, he says, isn't it, when he throws the was it a paper clip, isn't it? He puts the stuff on and it explodes in the police station. But it was very tense at the time. I do remember watching it thinking, the Grubers are monsters, they're going to blow up this school. They're horrible, but as it plays out, it's a decoy or a decoy, and Simon does say that he's not he's not a monster or anything like that. Well, he is a monster in my eyes.
He's an opportunist.
Yeah, but I think that was good as well, and obviously Zeus and Mclean escape as well, because they were supposed to get down with the ship and all the sort of decoy gold, wasn't it? It was just like shards of metal and stuff like that, wasn't it? It was just rubbish. And by the time they'd figured it out, they would be away anyway. So there was a lot at stake, and I like that in a film. And as you said, you've got sort of multiple scenarios all going on at once, and the tension's building.
Yeah,
it's actually different from the first two films where it was just good versus evil. Lone Wolf, just, at the very end, it was a face-off. You were still getting the face-off, but you were obviously getting that sort of tense sort of bombing stuff going on in the background.
Yeah, and also the connection of Zeus knowing the little kids who were in the school and whatnot. It added emotional baggage on it.
Yeah, it was those kids from the start, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was really, really well done, the way that they sort of brought it all together. He knows his stuff, this McLaughlin, is it? McLaughlin guy, he knows his stuff. Maybe he should do more Die Hard movies. Did he do 5?
I don't think so, John.
There you go. Get this guy back in. He understands it, man. But will Bruce Willis phone it in this TV show if he comes back? Hopefully not. But Stephen, best performances overall in this movie. I have to say, we spoke about the dynamic duo before. I'm still going with Samuel as the best overall performance in this movie, just because he's Samuel, man. I love him.
And plus his development of the character throughout the film as well, from start to finish, was interesting to watch. As much as I love Bruce Willis and John Mcclane, and I always see both as the same thing with Bruce Willis, he's always going to be consistently good. When you bring someone in like Samuel Jackson, who the year before was in Pulp Fiction playing a totally different guy altogether. He was more cocksure and very confident and just a badass. In this, he still had that lippy nature about him, the sharp tongue, but a totally different character altogether. So I would say Samuel Jackson for me as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Stephen, technical stuff, cinematography, score, stunts, film set pieces and whatnot. Really enjoyed the array of set pieces in this movie. Great sort of classic action movie. A lot of practical stuff going on
fast stuff,
on set. Really cool, slick, good choreography. As I says, amazing sort of quick little cuts to Samuel Jackson, who's been thrust into this situation. This is a guy who woke up in the morning in his shop in the middle of Harlem,
worried about a stolen hi-fi.
Worried about a stolen hi-fi. He was going to go and send it back, and with a message, he's been thrust into the sort of a terrorist sort of situation. He's trying to stop gold being embezzled. He's been shot. Yeah. He's been sent in the mud.
He's the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, Stephen, he says a great line, man. You mean to tell me? I don't know if I can actually say it because there is swear words in here, but he says just an absolutely amazing line. I'm actually trying to find it. Wait a minute, you mean to tell me that I'm in this shit because some white cop threw some white asshole's brother off a building? That just sums the guy's day up.
Yes,
he's in this shit because some white guy threw some white asshole's brother.
I so thought, but that wasn't obviously the real.
Yeah, it wasn't the real reason. He was just a grubber in a sense. So yeah, look, I digress, man. They captured that guy's that character's sort of expressions beautifully, and that was all down to cinematography. I'm not entirely sure who the cinematographer is. It's Peter Menzies Jr. He has not done a huge amount of stuff since that I know of.
Yeah, but I would say, John,
I'm not going to delve right. I know Eyes on Me. That was decent. 2-pack sort of.
But for an action film of the mid-90s, it was pretty standard stuff. I can't really see anything that was too standoutish. No, if I'm being honest.
Done the Expendables.
But I suppose shooting in New York and doing a lot of chase scenes and stuff like that requires someone with a lot of skill.
Yeah.
And capturing the moment. So I would obviously give him that.
Yeah, composer Stephen was Michael Kamen, the great Michael Kamen. I mean, this guy's done so many good movies.
Yeah.
X-Men, Lethal Weapon. He knows how to make a really good movie.
It.
And he did he sort of put that Simon Gruber theme in beautifully. It just worked. It shouldn't have worked with an action movie like this, but it did. Just a bog standard action score. It was decent. Kept the movie ticking along nicely. It wouldn't have been the same without it. And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the technical stuff in this movie. There's something about these Die Hard movies, even the sort of end sequence in the second one, when the plane's going up off the runway and the fire falls. It's beautiful. You get that in this movie as well. Just a classic Die Hard movie. I'm all in these movies now, Stephen. It took me 30 odd years to watch them. And now I can't imagine not going back and watching them again. I've really enjoyed them as an experience. I'm just going to go right into final thoughts in the film on that note. Legacy, I don't know much about its legacy. I haven't just watched it really. I can't really speak on how it's influenced other action movies. I don't think it probably has. Where it ranks in the franchise, for me, it's probably the second best one. It's strange. I prefer Sadler's villain in a way, but I rank this movie above the second one. We have Die Hard and then Die Hard 3 so far. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Just because he shook it up and did something differently, structured it differently, mismatched buddy element, Samuel's in there, I love the guy. Jeremy Irons, really good villain. even though he's not the best villain in the franchise so far, he's still decent. I really enjoyed the movie. It had action in the right moments. It had humour, comedy, I'm combining them there, comedy, and dramedy in the right moments. I just liked all the elements, man. I like Mclean. He's a good guy, good character. Bruce Willis just typifies it. He's great in that sort of action role. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd definitely go back and watch this again.
I would say after the first one it is, John. The second one failed on so many levels for being too similar to the first one, although I did enjoy it. It's not got the best villain in the third one. It's not got the most complex storytelling either, but there's something about it just being so different to the first two films that makes it more exciting for me, because they've moved away from that template, so you don't know what's going to happen next if you're seeing this for the first time. So it's just a great film, John.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. I can't really add much more to that. I completely concur. There's a sort of fancy pants little word, concur, instead of agree. It's like back in the movie review days when I was searching up synonyms for other words just to appear more intelligent than I actually am. Yeah. On that note, we'll round this review up. What do you guys make about Die Hard with a Vengeance? Where do you rank it in the sort of Die Hard franchise? Maybe across the 5 movies. I've not seen them all, so I can only rank it out of 3, and I've got it at number 2. Where do you rank it? What's your thoughts on Jeremy Irons as a villain? Is Simon Peter Gruber?
Said the pieman.
Said the pieman. Simon says... what's that phrase again?
Simple Simon said the pieman.
Simple Simon said the pieman. Not really a German name. Maybe if you're German and you're watching this, can you comment below? Is that a German name? Is Peter frequent in the German populace? I don't think it is, but perhaps I'm wrong. What's your thoughts on this movie in general? Do you like it, hate it, love it? Are you completely ambivalent towards it? There's another fancy word. If you've got anything to say at all, you can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this again in the future. And if you do, you'll see us back with more movie reactions, movie news, Monday through Thursday, and another movie review next Friday. Bye bye, guys. Bye bye. Simple Simon says the pylon.